My name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I have an astronomy lesson to share with you today. We're using our live education Waldorf curriculum, and this is the astronomy main lesson book. For this lesson, we are using chalk pastel pencils. I have a couple of brands here. This one is my favorite one. You can find links to all of the materials on the blog post that accompanies this video in case you're interested in trying these out. This one is by Generals. They don't work quite as well, but they are looking lovely in the main lesson book. We are using a main lesson book that measures 9.5 inches by 12 inches. There are blue pages that you can draw on and white pages that you can write on. So this lesson on the 4 seasons is already started. I have my illustration on one page. I need another illustration because what ended up being what I thought was going to be a single illustration and a single page of written content ended up taking a total of 4 pages of written content and 2 illustrations. So for this lesson, we are working on the seasons, and this accompanies our previous lesson on the tilt of the planet. Our planet has a 23.5 degree tilt, and this is what accounts for our 4 seasons. In our previous lesson, we did a diagram to illustrate how when the planet orbits around the sun, depending on whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, you will experience the seasons depending on where the planet is in its orbit, and that is specifically because of the tilt of the planet. When we were doing this lesson, it suggested that you go through the 4 different kingdoms to describe how the seasons change for where you live, going through the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, animal kingdom, and human kingdom. In doing this, I found that I needed more than just 1 page of written content to go over all of the seasonal changes that occur where we are in Southern California. What this ended up being was a bit of a passion project. I already recognized that the seasons in Southern California are a little bit more subtle than what people might expect to experience in other parts of the state or the country. So I did a little additional research in order to really capture what it's like to live through all 4 seasons in Southern California. We have a brief wet winter, which is the only time of year that we might need an additional jacket, and that's the month of January. But as soon as January comes to a close, spring is already upon us. So we'll have beautiful weather up until May gray and June gloom. Those are 2 months that you have an unseasonably high amount of cloudy mornings, sometimes cloudy days that last all day. By the time July comes around, we are experiencing full-blown summer. It is hot, it is dry. We don't typically have rain in the summer, but on rare occasion, we will have a summer thunderstorm. We have dry weather, which means that we don't have humid summers. And while it might be hot during the day, we do experience cool evenings as soon as the sun goes down. Now, we're not in a desert, we're in the chaparral, which experiences 11 inches of rain per year rather than the 10 inches that would be experienced in a desert. Our falls are hot. They are as hot as summer. You think September's rolled around and you can grab those sweaters the way other people are in other parts of the country. We have second summer. It becomes even hotter at times. It's really dry and we are at risk of fires. So fire season tends to be in the autumn and it's only relieved with the first rain. We do try to contain it, but for the most part, we're really looking for that first rain because by the time the rain comes, since our rainy season is quite brief and just in the winter, it means that for the rest of the year, the earth is being baked by the sun and any of the brush or the leaves that have dried out have now created such tinder for forest fires and brush fires along the coast. So experiencing the 4 seasons in Southern California is unique, and having this opportunity to go through each of the seasons, talk about the mineral kingdom, the way the earth is in each of these seasons, the way the plant and animal life are experienced here in Southern California, and then of course how humans experience these 4 seasons, because we are able to be outdoors nearly every day of the year because the weather is just conducive for those kinds of activities. So I really enjoyed going through this, exploring the different flora and fauna that I could share with my daughter, talking about local regional parks and the drought seasons and the wet seasons, so that we could really understand a little bit better about our local environment through the 4 seasons. So I really loved this astronomy lesson because it felt more like a geology lesson or a botany lesson. It was really enjoyable. It ended up taking far longer than I expected, but I really loved it. We do need to seal our work once we are done. If you're working with chalks, do use a sealant. I'm using a matte fixative, and this protects your work and keeps it from transferring onto the other pages. You want to do this outside and let it air out completely. So this is what the project looks like in the end. I have 4 pages devoted to each of the seasons, and then 2 illustrations. I did have to add an extra sheet of paper to this main lesson book, so I unstapled everything. I do have a long reach stapler in order to put 2 staples back in, and that way I could add that extra sheet of paper. I hope that you enjoyed this look at our astronomy lesson. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video, where you can find more information about our astronomy main lesson block. You can also find links to all of the resources that you see here, as well as the books that we've used. You can find the link to that blog post in the description box below. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on my website at pepperandpine.com.